What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Blakney, a.k.a. Brandon TV, back at it with another one. Episode 23 of the Dukes of the Gridiron Podcast, powered by Bleed Network. Shout out to the guys. Got my guy, Adam Chalifoux, back again for another Sunday fun day. Adam, a lot going on in the sports world, man. But first off, man, what's going on with you right
Well, we're out here living the dream. It's a busy time of year for sports for sure. Lot of high school hoops. I know you were out here covering it with me, so I'll give you the quick rundown. The EDC, for most of you have no idea what that is, the Eastern Dakota Conference. Okay,
now?
it's a dogfight, bro. Fargo South has finally emerged, and
Okay.
so it's like Cheyenne is like they're in first place by like a game, and then it's like Fargo South, Davies,
Jeez.
like Fargo North, but like
Okay.
Jeremiah Sem was out most of the year. That's a major
Really?
factor for North. Yep.
What happened with that?
Well, I'm not going to say it on this podcast. I'll tell you privately.
Yeah. How's
Um,
Claybo doing out there?
he's been dealing with some injuries as well.
Oh man, that's no
And
fun.
so you know how it is, man. I never report speculation. I've heard
Mhm.
rumors on both.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm not saying anything on the pod.
Fair enough.
But it's both those guys have dealt with things to keep them off the court, whether it be
Mhm.
injuries, what have you. But anyway, um, it's a fun time of year, and it's fun to have a dog fight,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like when Mahomes is going to go back to the Super Bowl again.
Right. Right. No, absolutely, man. Speaking of, it's just funny, man. All the commercials I'm seeing now with Mahomes and Travis Kelce now with them being in the Super Bowl. The media onslaught is on full effect right now. Um, you know, being a football podcast, we'd be remiss not to talk about the game a little bit. Um, the Chiefs, obviously, the kings of the AFC West. And I know something that we had talked about previous, Adam, was, Jim Harbaugh joining that conference and how, there's just talent everywhere. The Broncos have talent, they need a quarterback. The Raiders have talent, they need a quarterback. We see what the Chiefs are doing. Does this tip the needle for the Chargers getting Harbaugh in there with all that talent and Justin Herbert leading the way?
Oh, big time. I mean, you've seen it in the NFL where all of a sudden you got a new coach in, you add them to a talented roster, and they literally become a contender.
Yeah.
And the Chargers are that team, because they were in the playoffs last year, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so it's not like they're just would be some crazy dark horse. Like they've had success. Staley clearly wasn't the guy long term, but
Right.
like you got to look at what Jim Harbaugh has never had. I don't know if he's like, I don't think he does losing seasons.
No. No, that's not
That's not
something.
really his thing.
Mm,
And he's had success at every level. And,
yeah.
I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but I can't remember him losing at Stanford.
No, he was winning a lot of games, a lot of 10-win seasons out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did a pretty good job with the 49ers, took them to a Super Bowl. And, you know, he did it with Colin Kaepernick, and he's had success with just about every quarterback he's worked under.
Yeah.
And now, honestly, he's getting to work with the best quarterback he's ever worked with, perhaps, right now with Justin Herbert. And
Yeah.
Herbert, man, sheer talent. I think he's got the case. Like you could say he's got the strongest arm in the NFL.
He's up there. Yeah, absolutely.
Keenan Allen, dog, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
I think they're going to let Austin Eckler walk for financial reasons,
Mm.
but you already have a lot of weapons for him. Um, I don't know what is going to happen. I expect them to keep Khalil Mack,
Yeah. He just had a
around.
career year. Yeah.
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 And then was it on the other end? You got Bosa. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, you got everything you need. You got everything you need to be really good right now. And I just named a few guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you look at what Harbaugh does everywhere he goes, he's going to get a good, defense going.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to run the ball down your throat, whoever's in the backfield. And Herbert is going to have a career year. Put that on the books. Take whatever the over is in Vegas on like what he does. He's about to go off. And the Raiders, you know, like I do like Antonio Pierce. I like some of the they finished strong, right? But it's just so many question marks. You know, they do have good wide receivers over there. Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams. You know, they got some good pieces for sure. I don't want to take anything away from them, but like as far as just sheer roster goes, like it's the Chiefs. They're the kings of the conference right now. But then like sheer talent, I kind of feel like it's the Chargers next. And I don't think that they're going to like dethrone the Chiefs, but I think that if you're looking at Harbaugh to really turn that thing around, I think look at like 2 or 3 years, but I'd be surprised if they're not in the playoffs next year. I think it absolutely moves the needle. And I think he's one of the best coaches of all time, like straight up. And I think that holds for other too.
Yeah.
They just win. And Harbaugh, he's got some serious guts. And sometimes the Chargers just seemed a little soft.
Yeah.
You don't have soft Harbaugh teams. So I expect him to put some boots to asses and man, just look out. Because if you unlock Justin Herbert, he's like a kind of guy who could legitimately take the MVP with him next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the weapons, he's got the talent, he's a big physical guy. Like we've seen, he's been one of the best QBs in the league. Like he's in that, second tier of guys. When you start talking about, Mahomes tier 1 and the rest of those guys, the Justin Herberts, the the Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson might be a little bit above that, but the Jalen Hurts of the world, the Josh Allens. I think I'd put them at number 2 in that division just based off of Justin Herbert, because the other two don't have a quarterback. You absolutely need that guy to be successful. So yeah, the Chargers have him. I'm excited to see what they got of Quentin Johnston, the rookie receiver. It'll be interesting to see, man. Love Derwin James. Yeah, I think it'll be a culture. I think something you said though, like it'll be a culture shock for them, like a culture shift to where the Chargers kind of been known, that the powder blue, the powdery blue, and the pretty uniforms, the flash, the razz and dazzle. But yeah, Harbaugh's going to bring a different type of physicality that we haven't really seen from them, I think, in past years.
Yeah, I think the unique thing about this is that it just requires maybe some tweaks here and there, but they do not have to do much at all with that roster. I mean, geez, you just look up and down that depth chart. Asante Samuel, as you mentioned, Derwin James, and then just an embarrassment of riches on offense with, Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett, and like a solid line. Line's not perfect, but it's a solid line. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with the running back position. Yeah. I think that's the biggest X factor, because if they hit a home run with that, if they bring in, the right guy, whether it be free agency or the draft, then I think that they can really take some huge steps forward. And who knows, maybe Eckler is back.
Yeah.
I just feel like, at 29, the shelf life, people start kind of looking elsewhere in today's NFL. But he is going to need a good Frank Gore type running back, like he had.
You say that, man, and I think maybe, it's a possibility he goes out and gets his college running back, Blake Corum, and brings him, to Los Angeles to play with the Chargers. Man, I think he'd be good in that system. Like you said, a guy that's powerful, that can, shed tackles and really get in between the tackles.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Eckler's not that guy. I do think that they need a power back for it to really work. And also that's just going to open up the pass game, But I expect the Chargers to be playing some complimentary football.
Yeah.
And I expect that the opposing offense is going to be peeing down their leg most of the time. And if you don't have a good offensive line, you better get into a different division. Because, I mean, it's like every single team in that division has some elite pressure coming at you.
Yeah, like you're dealing with Frank Clark, Max Crosby, like Joey Bosa on like any given night. Like, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, when that's half your season, I'm just glad the Bears don't play in that conference.
Definitely, man. We mentioned the Chiefs being kind of like the kingdom, the Chiefs' kingdom, the kings of that division. Headed to another Super Bowl. They come in with initial odds. They're the dog. Odds are in the favor of San Fran right now. Looking at the contest, man, I think that San Fran does something really well running the football, and that's something the Chiefs have not been able to really stop this season. You know, teams that are committed to the run have been able to move the ball against the Chiefs.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's I took the Bills, I
Yeah.
took the Ravens. Like, I've been wrong. I've been wrong and I've been wrong and I've been wrong. And I look at this matchup and once again, I'm like, well, they're the better team.
And it should be that simple, right? Like,
yeah. And like the 49ers, man, this is one of the best football teams I've ever seen in my life.
loaded.
Like,
Bro.
geez. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. Like, I have to go back to the like Randy Moss, Wes Welker Patriots, or like the Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce Rams with Marshall Faulk
right,
and Kurt Warner.
Yeah, greatest show on turf. Yeah,
And Orlando Pace. And then, but they got their Trent Williams.
yeah.
Like, this is the greatest show on grass,
Yeah. Agreed.
and then like you got, geez, what that defense can bring to you too.
Yeah.
So I feel like the 49ers are the better team, but Mahomes has been making me look like an idiot for like a month and a half.
Bro, you're not alone. Because I thought the Ravens for sure. I thought the Bills at home. I thought this was the year to beat the Chiefs. This is the year they're kind of weaker than usual, but they have their best defense probably since Mahomes has been there. And
however,
go ahead.
Both those teams, they bit themselves.
They did.
They really, like, both those games could have gone the other way if not for a couple weird little plays. The should have been touchdown that turned into a touchback with the Ravens.
Zay Flowers, yeah,
and the unbelievable, like, the 44-yard field goal, same as the early 90s Super Bowl miss with the Bills. Yeah. And so it's like, at the same time, maybe I'm not that far off for having picked those teams. But I don't know. I don't know which way I'm going to go, because I do think the 49ers are the better football team. I think they're the more complete football team, and I think they match up well. But, geez, the Chiefs just find a way, and they're better prepared than any other team. But it's going to be a hell of a Super Bowl.
I think so, man. It's definitely going to be a one for the ages. I'm hoping for an instant classic. But like you said, like how I was saying last episode, man, it feels like the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and everybody else doesn't. And that's like the big difference right now, man. He's just doing enough to keep them in every single game. I mean, it's like Steph Curry with the Warriors. As long as he's on the field, they have a shot. It doesn't matter who's on the other side. And I think too, man, the Niners defense kind of got called out last week. They weren't having their typical dominance through this playoff so far. But you got Dre Greenlaw, you got Fred Warner, and all these guys out there just humbling teams. Nick Bosa, it's a unit, man. But I think for the Chiefs, it'll be. They've improved that offensive line. Pat Mahomes really hasn't been sacked, I think, more than 2 times this whole playoffs.
And I don't know how much of this is just noise and how much of it is legit, but I've seen some things here and there that there's some concern about Chase Young taking plays off.
I mean, that wouldn't be the first time I feel like that's been out there too, man. I mean, he hasn't been as dominant as you would expect.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they're going to need him to be.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to need him to be. Because like I mean, it's the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's the Super Bowl. You got to give Mahomes hell back there. That's the only way they have a shot. I shouldn't say have a shot, but I mean, like, it's the Chiefs, you know, like you can't just, Mahomes will kill you. It doesn't matter who's on your defense. If they're not getting the pressure, if they're not bringing it every single play, then across the 4 quarters, eventually Mahomes is going to get one on you.
If you don't wake up for Pat Mahomes, you just don't need to be playing football. If that don't get you up,
he's not going to be on the team next year if he doesn't have a good Super Bowl.
Yeah, agreed. They're not going to pay him what he's looking for, and there's no way. And we're talking about a guy that's not even that old, that is, should be in the prime years of his career right now. He came right before or right after the Bosa brothers, or in between them. Like, so, he's not old. Definitely, I when they made that signing, I was thinking in my head, like, bro, you're not blocking him and Nick Bosa.
Yeah, it was this move just put him over to the top kind of move, and then you see some of this disappointing stuff about, like, is he taking plays off? And you just can't. But just like you look at literally the entire roster from the top down, and it's an all-star team.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 guys that are like 1,000-yard receivers. You know what I'm saying, at their position.
Like, you have one of the very best offensive lines in football. You have the best running back in football. You have the hardest wide receiver to bring down in football in Deebo Samuel, who also likes to get in the backfield.
Yeah.
And McCaffrey goes out and does this, like, my McCaffrey comp is and has been Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
Just because they're both elite receivers as well, and the things you can do with them.
I mean, you can put McCaffrey in the slot, bro. He's good.
Exactly. And they're so quick, but also extremely strong. And then, on defense, you got like Young, Armstead, Hargrave, Bosa, Greenlaw, Warner, Charvarius Ward. Like,
he's a monster.
Golly. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I got to go with the 49ers just because I've been saying all year, literally all year, that's the best team in football, even before they got Chase Young.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl at this point. But it's just the same stuff I've been saying over and over. It's like, I look at that receiving core and it's just like question mark after question mark. And so 49ers got to find a way to stop Travis Kelce. And if they do that, I think they win the football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna have Fred Warner following him all over the field for sure. And I think that's kind of gonna be the difference for them. Fred Warner's gonna probably, easily one of the best coverage players at the linebacker position. So having somebody like him to match up against Kelce will benefit them. What if you had to put a number out there? Because obviously, next Sunday we won't have a show, so we'll get the prediction out there now.
Let's see. I feel like it's going to be a more defensive battle than people anticipate because that Chiefs defense is underrated. What's the over under right now? Do you know that?
No, but we can check.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that.
DraftKings ready.
I'm gonna get into there with the.
Okay, so the over is 47.5 right now. The Niners are a 2-point favorite.
Okay. Wow. I'm gonna go.
It's gonna be a tight one.
Yeah. I think 49ers get at least 3 touchdowns, maybe one more late, and a field goal. I'm going to 49ers 31, Chiefs 27.
Okay. I like that. I think that's reasonable. If they can hold Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to under 30, I absolutely think they win the
game. Yeah, it's we're going to see how good that 49ers defense is because they got absolutely lit up by Baltimore. And so I'm thinking that the Chiefs are going to look at that film and say, what did Baltimore do to expose this 49ers defense? Of course, I'm talking about, I think that was like Christmas week or
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah,
Day.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that they have to look at the tape there. Um, Everyone's going to talk about the offense, but I'm just really interested to see the defenses as well. Spagnola's just got those guys on a different planet with Kansas City. It's two of the best defenses in the NFL too.
I think
But
it's funny you say that too about the Ravens. I think they make them both watch the Ravens because we saw the Ravens shut the Chiefs down for a half, held them scoreless for the
yeah,
second half of that game. So maybe the Niners looked at the Ravens too, like what work for those guys.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. What's your prediction?
I like the Niners, man. I feel like though it's like those years that the Patriots weren't the better team, but like you couldn't bet against Brady. That's where it feels like Pat Mahomes is right now. But I'm taking the Niners, man. I think it's going to be somewhere like that. I think it'll be like I'm thinking like 35-28, something like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I think they
yeah,
get them by like a touchdown. I think it's gonna. I think Pat Mahomes will have it with the game on the line at some point, and I just think the Niners have an answer for him. I think it's just too much firepower on the offensive side. The Chiefs' defense is legit. They also haven't faced an offense with this many weapons that you got to dig into and try to stop, man. So,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, they just do a good job of putting Brock Purdy in positions to succeed. And he does a great job of just playing with his strengths and getting those guys the football in space, man, and letting them do what they do. So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for it, man. Adam, I'm looking around, I see all the sports memorabilia, and I see the Chicago Bulls jersey in the corner over there. And I know you being a huge Bulls guy. Shout
I
out
got
to D
two. I
Rose.
got Jordan and Rose over there.
So, I know D Rose, Jordan were two guys, MVPs, All Stars, but there's another guy from North Carolina playing for the Bulls right now that some felt like was an All Star snub. No other than Coby White, who at the least we gotta lock him in for most improved player.
He has to be, right? Yeah, man. It's tough out east, though. It's tough out west too. It's tough to make the all-star team.
It is. I mean, Trae Young didn't even make
And exactly. You know, Jalen Brunson, he wound up making it. And, you know, it's the New York media, bro. You
it.
know, and the Chicago media wasn't quite enough to get Kobe in this year. He'll probably be in there next year. And I'm not trying to disrespect Jalen Brunson, but come on, Trae Young, bro. Like
you know,
Trae Young's having like historical season after historical season,
yeah,
like on points and assists. Like
yeah. He's like a modern day Nate Archibald, man, with the points and assists. It's crazy.
he's unreal. He's unreal. And I feel like it's no slight at Coby White not to make it. Um, who knows? You never know how these things go. Somebody gets hurt, turns an ankle, and then he might sneak in,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But as a Bulls fan, I'm more excited. Like, I don't even care that he got snubbed. I'm more excited that he's looking like he could be the face of the franchise.
Coming
I didn't
together.
know what to think of this guy coming in, and I thought the first guy he kind of reminded me of was Jamal Crawford.
Okay.
You know, and I remember I was at Jamal Crawford's second ever game that he started.
Mhm.
It was, I want to say, Bulls Celtics, and the Bulls lost a close one. But Jamal back when he was number one rookie year, just bouncy dribbler as far as like creating space and kind of like moves on the tops of his feet. And Coby White similar in that way, but I thought like, oh, maybe Coby White's just going to be this like amazing sixth man for
Real
us.
streaky. Yeah.
Yeah, but then this year it was after Lavine went down. All of a sudden they were like, "Hey, bro, here's the keys."
Mm-hmm. Trust
And
him.
there were times like early in Coby White's career where I felt like he wasn't ready for that moment, because there were times when like they put the keys in his hands and he just fumbled.
Yeah.
He couldn't handle the pressure, but like you said, streaky, but this is the first time we've seen like consistent excellence uh from Coby White. And he rebounds, he shoots the lights out, he gets his assists, and everything kind of has to like go through Coby White right now. And it's working. Like the Bulls aren't some great team. Last night they went down 30 points to the Kings, almost come back to win that game, but it's Coby White. I think he had like at one point, I'll have to pull up how many he actually finished with, but like 19 points in the second half,
Yeah.
Just like went berserk. And, goes on to finish 10 of 18 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And then he's always got the Hornets number. I always take, whenever he's in Charlotte, I take the over on his points. Just the other night, 35 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists.
He's going to perform in front of the home state.
Yeah. and just like the jump he's taken this year from, like, he's literally averaging 9.5 more points than last season. Like last season, he only averaged 9.7 points per game, and that was actually a career low. And so it was really concerning, and people were like, hey, is it time to move this kid?
Right.
And through the 50 games he played this year, he's at a career high 19.2 points per game.
Oh.
He's shooting 39.5% from 3. He's a career high in assists at 5.1. A career high in rebounds at 4.7.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's like a lot more minutes too, but even when you adjust that stuff to per 36, it's just, he's improved leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, I'm just really excited about him. I wish there were more aspects about the Bulls I was excited about, but Coby is the future in Chicago.
Yeah, definitely excited to see him flourish, man. Very humble kid, putting in the work, and now, you guys were patient, and they're being rewarded. Adam, before we get out of here, man, let them know where to find you at on social media so they can keep up with your journey, my guy.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at FargoFoo. That's Fargo, F-O-U-X. And I am on the YouTubes as well, F-O-U-X Tube. That's FooTube. And, the DMs are open. Slide in. We'll talk sports. And yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I would like to actually say a few things about the Zach Lavine situation though before we go.
Yeah, go for it.
If that's okay.
Get it off your chest. Yeah.
Man, he was finally starting to play like the player I think the Bulls needed him to be. And something's fishy about it. Like, people don't just get surgeries as excuses. Clearly there's something wrong.
Right.
But it's like something's just fishy about, like, he's linked to these Pistons trades and all of a sudden he has to get surgery.
Bro was not trying.
Like,
as soon as the Detroit happened, it was like,
oh no, I can't. Shut it down. My legs broke. Whatever it is. Man, it's just frustrating because, like, the Bulls could be so much better with him, but right now it's like they're just stuck in this purgatory situation, and you're either going to trade DeRozan, but then you don't really compete for the playoffs, or but then it's kind of this damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you don't trade him, like, you open up that cap space, which is nice, but you could at least try to get something back. But there are some benefits to him being a expiring contract. But yeah, man, they're just stuck in purgatory. They're not a real team right now. They can beat just about anybody because they do have some good dudes over there, but like that we see, Coby White take that next step forward, but the only way the Bulls are going to be a legitimate team is if Patrick Williams is able to take that kind of same step that Coby White did.
Yeah.
Especially without Zach Lavine, because now Zach's not here to, to save you.
Right.
So,
right. No, that's a major loss.
It's a tough year to be a Bulls fan. It's Zach Lavine's year from hell too. It's like he hardly got to play. And I think this is the most he's ever faced as a Chicago Bulls player from the fan base too. And that's not fun to deal with. we can be a mean city,
Mm-hmm.
the Chicago fan base. And we will cheer with you till the end of the earth if you play well. But if you don't play well, they'll let you hear about it too. And Lavine got a lot of both,
Yeah.
in his time with Chicago. So we'll see what happens, man. But either way, I'm glad they got Coby White, and I hope that they can continue to build the right pieces around him. Um, Ultimately, and I'm talking long term, I'd just like to see them get younger.
Yeah.
I like Vucevic, I like DeRozan, but I'd like to see the Bulls try to just like reevaluate what their timetable is for when their window is going to open and what they can do to try to be a contender when that time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're either competing for a championship or you're stocking up on assets. You got to be doing one. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're Danny Ainge and figured out a way to do both, you
yeah.
know.
No, right on, man. They're a very exciting team, too, man. Love watching SGA, one of the brightest stars in the game. But that's a wrap for us. As the season goes along, though, we will definitely have more NBA talk after the Super Bowl. So it'll be exciting, man. Love all the NBA storylines, the trade deadlines approaching. So we'll keep an eye out on everything. But that's a wrap for us for all the latest and the greatest. I am Brandon Blakney, aka Brandon Lee TV, with my guy Adam Chalifoux. This is the Dukes of the Gridiron Podcast. Until next time, we out.